Hey guys, what's up? It's Cody. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about the real reason why I believe there's not affordable housing in many parts of the United States. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about a couple of reasons here that I think need addressing, and they need addressing immediately. These are things that can be fixed and should be fixed, but we're not seeing these changes come into action, and unfortunately, it's causing a lot of people to be priced out of the market, and it's causing an issue that should not be there. So the main thing that I want to talk about here in this video is the main reason why I don't think that we have enough affordable housing in many of the major metro markets. In almost every single major market, there's an affordable housing crisis. I would say that probably 80 to 90% of cities are going through this issue. With the way that things have changed over the last 20, 30, 50 years, a lot of people are moving to the cities because that's where the jobs and opportunities are. Unfortunately, this is not where the affordable housing is at, and it's a crisis that needs to be solved. I think the number one reason why we do not have affordable housing is because of government restrictions. Unfortunately, the government has gotten us all into a position where we're not able to build housing quick enough. They're not able to get enough people into these housing units, and they're way too restrictive on what they allow. What we're seeing right now is a lot of cities, counties, and even states restricting the ability for people to rent out portions of their home, rent out rooms, or even build new housing that will be able to accommodate more people per square acre, or even allow the builders to build developments that will be able to support more housing units per acre. Now, some cities have started making changes and are starting to allow accessory dwelling units or mother-in-law apartments, but they are so restrictive that I know a lot of people who just don't want to jump through all the hoops that they require. Oftentimes, this comes down to a parking issue or a density issue, and unfortunately, we kind of just need to get past this. Yes, density is going to go up. Yes, people are going to have parking issues, but that's just the reality of it. Would you rather deal with a parking situation or a situation where people can't afford to live in an area where they need to in order to go to work each day? This is a problem that we haven't seen an end to just yet, and cities and counties are trying to make these changes, but unfortunately, like I said, they're just making it way too restrictive and putting in too many hoops for people to jump through in order for this to be a successful process. They really need to ease up on their requirements for allowing these mother-in-law apartments, these basement apartments, the accessory dwelling units, or even just the ability to rent out a room in your house to somebody in need. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot of cities do is that they have minimum house size requirements, and they're not allowing thick enough density per zoning unit. What this basically means is that as you go through the development process, if a builder comes in and tries to build something, they're going to have to abide by the zoning rules that the city has put in place for that area. What this causes is an issue because the city will say, well, you can only have 3 units per acre or 4 units per acre or whatever that number may be. But on top of that, they have a minimum house size requirement that forces builders, at least in my area, to have to build these massive homes. When they build these massive homes, the only way that they're able to make a profit on them is by building a house that's big enough that they can get the scale to be able to sell it for a much higher price. This causes another issue because there's not affordable housing that's nice, new, and accommodates most people. If the local governments would loosen their restrictions on zoning, they'd be able to build higher density projects and be able to fit more people into a certain area. Yes, this is going to cause a strain on the infrastructure. It's going to cause more traffic, but to be honest, in my opinion, I think the traffic is already there. There's already a strain on the infrastructure, and the affordable housing crisis is something that needs to be fixed, and we can worry about the infrastructure later. If the city is able to collect more revenue from taxes from people living there in that city, they're going to have the money to go out there and fix the infrastructure, whether that's widening roads, replacing roads, or adding in new parking spots. In addition to that, if cities would allow more units to be built per acre or even just reduce the minimum house size requirements, this would allow builders to have much more flexibility to do exactly what they need to do. Builders are very good at reading the market and building something that they know is going to sell within the restrictions that they're given. If those restrictions are loosened, that allows the builder to go out there and do something that they know is going to make money, but is also going to help the overall market. We have to let these builders do what they do best. This is something that's absolutely crucial to fixing the affordable housing crisis. There's one last point that I want to argue when it comes to something like this. I believe that more cities need to allow the building and use of micro units. What is a micro unit? Well, it's going to be your small studio apartments that are able to house just 1 or maybe 2 people in a very small space. This might be 150 square feet, 200, maybe even just 300 to 400 square feet. Yes, that's a very small amount of space, but there's a lot of people out there who would be happy to be able to afford something like this, even if it could just get them into a new house. Think about it. If you go out there and you want to rent, let's say 800 square feet, in my market, that's going to cost you $1,000. For 800 square feet, you're paying $1,000. Well, let's say that you could then rent a micro unit that is 400 square feet, but you only pay $500. You could have your own standalone living space. Yes, it's going to be small, but it only costs you $500. This would be low enough to be able to help people get off the streets. This would help solve the homelessness crisis and help give people the opportunity to live in a smaller space when they don't need all of that space, right? There's a lot of people who would love to get into these smaller spaces if it was going to save them that amount of money. If you're working in a lot of entry-level jobs where you might be making $12, $14, maybe $16 per hour, being able to live on $500 a month for your rent as opposed to $1,000 per month is a massive difference. This is going to help us be able to build a future that is better for a lot of people and be able to help solve the affordable housing crisis. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on the affordable housing crisis and what some suggestions you have are for this issue as well. Drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. With that said, catch you guys in the next one.